Project 571, genetically engineered vampire created to destroy evil.
What do you want?
We need your help to kill a vampire.
Malleus Maleficario. It was written by a witch. The first witch. Titania.
That was a little snippet from The Witch's Hammer, the first film I ever solo directed, and it's just been remastered and re-released on Amazon. So if you like witches and vampires, then please do check it out. Anyway, let's get on with this week's episode. Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast. This week I'm chatting to filmmaker Steve Love. Hi Steve, how you doing?
How you doing there, Jim? Just blessed to see another day.
Sounds good. So, looking at all the movies you've been involved with, you've had various roles on them. First off, how do you describe yourself? Are you primarily a producer, writer, director? Which one of those is your sort of main focus?
I would call myself just a film machine.
Film machine.
Yeah, because when I first started, I had to play so many roles. I wrote all my Trust Nobody movies. I started learning directing from my friend Beasley. I was the producer on there. I was the executive producer. I paid for all my films. I had to do the wardrobe, get the sound together. I ain't saying I would like to do all that, but when I first started learning and trying to get the right people, I had to learn fast and do all that on my own. I'm from wardrobe all the way down, so I call myself the film machine.
The film machine. That's fair enough. And I know I speak to a lot of filmmakers who that first movie you do end up wearing all the hats, taking responsibility for absolutely everything. And I'm assuming you've moved now to a stage where that is not what's happening. You've got other people doing those jobs.
Yes, I brought people in now. Getting back. I still do a lot of things because since I write a lot of the movies, I know what's going on, so I'm still involved in a lot of it. I got good help, like my friend the key that I brought in. With just help on assistant producer things. And a lot of great staff, my brother Gucci and Free and everybody. So I got a lot of staff now.
Yeah. So you still do a lot. Yeah. Don't we all? So you said you started with that first film, you did everything. So what made you move into filmmaking in the first place?
Well, the truth and crazy story, I come from the entertainment world. So I have a background in music, had a big hit single, the artist Cuckoo Cali in my projects. So just doing that, I always been creative with just help putting the albums together behind the scenes and watching videos. So I've always wanted to be, something with the movies. And I had gotten to a little situation to where I was in a little trouble after my big single had started falling. And while I was in this trouble, I said, I want to keep my mind from doing something, get in trouble. Let me write a movie. So I wrote my first movie about my life and things I've seen in 2020. But I never produced it until, 2000. I wrote it in 2000. But I never produced it until 2020. So I had this, I think I took this piece of paper that I wrote and I saved it for 20 years. And when I ran into a friend of mine, Swift Sharon, who was on your show, kind of motivated me after I said I wanted to do his first movie to actually shoot it. So it was crazy because I had the movie for 20 years and I ran into another friend of mine, Charles Burgess, who I showed my script to. He actually took it and turned it into a book called Trust Nobody, which became a top-selling book in the urban world, penitentiaries and things like that. So everybody wanted to see the movie. I read this book. They wanted to see it. So when I met Swift, he actually invited me out to a set. We went to Detroit. I didn't get to make it out there, so he came back to Milwaukee, shot his second film. When I went to the set, I'm a fast learner, and I seen it. I said, let me just go for it. Because I come from the music world, so I'm always thinking in my mind that hey, to shoot this movie, I have to do things right. So I'm going to need $1 million or $2 million to make it look right. But once I went to Swift's set and I seen how some things independently can roll, I said, I can put that budget together myself and make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. And do you, the films that you're making at the moment, do you stick to a particular budget level, or does it depend on the project, or are you trying to stay at a particular level?
It all depends on projects with me, because when I'm writing movies, I can kind of give myself credit to where I kind of change the independent game, like with Tubi itself. If you look at my films, I think I was one of the first ones to bring outside what they consider Tubi actors to the game. Like my first movie, I brought Jamal Willard, who played Biggie and Notorious, into the movie. I brought Fatboy SSE. At this time, he was a big influencer. He wasn't doing movies. He was an influencer. I brought him there. Shay Johnson, who was a reality star. So I always, if you look at my movies, I always put that extra outside the box because it's about promotion. So with me, when I'm writing it, if I meet somebody, if I see something in them that I say, oh, they play this role, they make the movie bigger, and that's how I really do my budget off of what I see the movie is. I mean, nowadays it's kind of smart to try to stay at a certain budget because the CPMs and dropped so much. But with myself, it's something that I believe in. If I wrote it or I purchased it from somebody else, I believe in that script. I don't put no caps on myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm always thinking big.
Yeah. So looking at that from a filmmaking perspective, the smart thing there is to find people who've got a bit of a following or they've done something before that people are going to recognize them from, put them in the film so you've got a little bit of a built-in audience when that movie's released. And do you stick to a genre? Is it a specific genre that you sort of play in?
No, not me, because I ain't done comedy. I got a comedy movie called The Hole in the Wall. It's all comedy. I got a love movie called Unfair Exchange. So that was different. But I do a lot of streets, what they call drama thrillers. Yes, I love them. But I got a hot script right now called Blood on My Leaf, written by my friend Curtis, Mr. Galena. That's more like the movie Seven, one of my favorite movies. You ever seen Seven?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what. So I got a movie like that I'm in production with my friend Charles Burgess, one of the writers on my team. We got a movie called Burnt Up. It's about gambling, like Ocean 11. So I just whatever I see that I love, I do. So I don't be like, I just want to write this. No.
Yeah. Fair enough. And so thinking back to that first film you made, what do you think? What were the biggest lessons you learned making it?
Get a bigger team. Doing everything yourself. But I was lucky to be on Swift's set and meet P.Z. Jones, who was a great director and cinematographer. And now he was really giving me game, telling me things. So by the time I got to mine, I had an idea of what was going on. But like I said, I wish I would have had maybe a bigger staff. I had people like Zeke and Tino on my team that was sound and showing me things, grips and stuff. But I wish I could have had a more complete staff. Because I think it's very important to have a person just to handle wardrobe. I had to make them artists by Pandora and Tanya on my first set. Another person come in just to do special effects. And you know what I would say really one of the biggest things I learned, because I shot a movie in 4 days before Unfair Exchange. And I never do it again. But I learned, me and Beasley be talking, and I learned that timing is a big key in movies, especially if you got like an action scene. Because I just shot Trust Nobody 4, and we took a whole day or two just on the stunts and action, and it came out great. So instead of rushing it, because we got a smaller budget, so we had to, wherever got to get done is there got to get done. Scheduling is very important, and I learned that from the first film to now.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that one.
You get what you want.
Yeah. Scheduling is key because it will save you money. It will save you a lot of aggro as well if you get it right. So talking about those films, Trust Nobody. So you're on the fourth one. So do you, with those films, have you seen, okay, I've got an audience here and they're coming back to watch the next ones and that's why you're continuing that? Or are you just like, right, I want to continue that story, that's why I'm making those?
It's funny you ask, because this is real funny. When I wrote Trust Nobody, the first one, and how it ended the first time I wrote it, it wasn't supposed to be no more. It was just things that I seen in my life, stories of my life, I put on paper. Trust Nobody. And before I even got to the movie, the book did so well that I wrote a part 2 to the book. I wrote a sketch up, had my man Charles Burgess put it into a book. We did too. That's before the movie came out, right? We shoot the movie. I had a premiere. I got the response to the premiere, and it became one of the biggest sellers on Tubi. One of the top top 5 independent movies on Tubi. Just nobody. And so it was good. Next I kept hearing in the comments, where's part 2? So shucks. So I wrote part 2. We did part 2. Swift Malone was in there and a lot of good cast tie-in. And that one did good. Then I started hearing part 3, right? I said, damn. So I told the story. That's why my character come in on part 3 from part 2. And I kind of set it up in part 2 just in case they wanted it. So I thought that was it. Then my distributors came to me like, they did a part 4.
Part 4.
So to answer your question, it wasn't Kevin part 4, but the audience loved it so much. Here we are.
Here we are.
Part 4 is like, tell you the truth, it's kind of like part 1. It's that great, man. It's a lot more action, and then me learning from my first film to my 10th films. You know, I can give it more. I can give it more Hollywood look. I can give it more stunts. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the question there is, because with a Hollywood film, they would make a sequel, and I think what normally happens is they spend more money on the sequel, and the money they make goes down. So they have to keep throwing more money at it to make it more exciting, bigger and better and specialer. Have you managed to sustain the same budget level, and are you feeling pressure to kind of up the ante with each one of these movies?
Well, I believe with me learning, I was able to stay around the same budget, but give it a bigger look. The now I know certain film tricks. Some of them might have cost me $10,000 put together. I probably can do it in $5,000 now because I learned, but make it look like the $10,000 that it needs. So I'm able to stay right there because of what I learned. If I didn't learn, then probably not. But yeah, I was thank the God for that.
Cool. And what do you think? What were the sort of so now when you're saying it's like 10 films you've got behind you? What do you think were some of the early mistakes you might have made on those films?
Basically, like I said, the timing was most important, like their scheduling, getting it correct. So, because in the past, you know, hey, we shoot this movie in 7 days. I was missing a lot of, because, you know, if you don't time it right, you miss a lot of important key details that you go back to edit and be like, damn, I could add that, I could did that. Learning how to deal with actors, you know, so sets, just being more vocal and really taking control of the set. If you don't take control of the set, time is wasted. People get talking, joking, and time is money in this. Believe it or not, it's hard to get a day back. Now, I had a film to where I had a situation with one of the actors to where it was just being difficult, kind of. It cost me a whole 2 days of coming back to shoot. So I actually went to Detroit for this certain scene. I'm from Milwaukee, half cast from Milwaukee, most from Detroit. The actors from all over. So I had to rebook hotels, rebook the place, fly this person back in. I had to wait because one actor was being a little difficult. Another actor had another role coming up. So he had to cut their face off. So I had to wait till their beard grew back before we had the content from where we left it. So now I gotta wait longer, push the film back. So and then I had a couple actors, believe it or not, I book them out maybe 3-4 months in advance. So your dates. They come in. Some of them like I said, some of them, although not actors, they're from like reality shows, hip hop. So something might come up on my scheduled date the week before. I had to leave the sets, come back. So I got to change things up. So you want to learn in your contract to really be. So I learned this mistakes is in your contract. Don't make no flexibility. Hey, book you here, be here. If you don't, you're fine. Like I said, timing is everything. So those are some of the biggest mistakes that I learned personally.
Yeah. That
sound,
yeah,
sound matters. I learned how important that was. I used to have a situation every movie, and I thought I kept doing like, man, I'm doing everything. I'm about to stick the mics. I'm buying electrosonics. I'm always trying to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was like, just put the camps on, listen while you shoot. So sounds and lights, I found out. So some mistakes I made, find out how important that really is.
Yeah, definitely. Sound is something that will really cheapen your film if you get it wrong. It'll make it sound.
Oh,
It will just make the whole thing look cheap. And the actors thing is a difficult one because I've said this before, but as soon as you cast someone, whether you're, depending on how tight your contract is, you're completely dependent on them really to play the game and be there on the right days. And if they don't, it can really cost you. And if they're difficult, it can really cost you. So like personally, we're really careful making sure we've cast someone who's a good actor, but also cast someone we can rely on 100%, who's going to sort of be there for us.
that's funny you said that because
Yeah.
with part 3, when I had to write part 3, I was writing it, and it's a guy did this. I didn't really realize I was doing. I was just in my zone writing, and when I ended up reading it, I got most of the roles are for me. I wouldn't planned it that way when it came, but it's a blessing because I didn't have to count on no other person to go through. I went through right before I did part 3. While I was doing negligence, I went through a lot of things, but so yeah, like you said, that's that person gets sick, that person gets attitude, especially if you film, let's just say you 4 or 5 days in already with the majority of them in the film. Now you really depending on them. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. And that's the other thing, like you say, that's the other tough one, which seems like it shouldn't be important, but somebody's beard or hair can scupper you. Like you say, someone shaves a beard off or turns up with a different haircut, and suddenly you've got to rethink everything.
I was just seeing a story that was just talking about House Party, how when a kid played, when he finally got the role, they did a part 2, or they signed the contract, and this is about the time he's thinking about cutting off his hair, his high top. The
Yeah.
studio will actually sue him. Like, no, you can't do that.
I bet.
This is why we buying your look. So that's like we even had to on my movie set. We even had to take the guy because it wasn't fully back, so we did the B Jean look. So So that's,
Yeah, and the other thing you mentioned there, which is interesting, is contracts. And I think a lot of filmmakers maybe worry about contracts being too long or too in depth. And but I do think that it is an agreement you're making with your cast, so you need to get everything in there. And even if you have to explain to them what it is you've put in there, I think just having that from the outset means that there's less chance of conflict later when people are arguing over what we've agreed to. It's all in paper. It's all in that contract. So we try and get everything sealed up with contracts so that we know everybody understands what their commitments are. What was I going to ask you about? Yeah, the other thing I was going to ask you about. So I got a comment. So I put Swift's video up. Had a good chat with Swift a couple of weeks ago. Put his video up, and I got a comment on the YouTube around the type of filmmaker he is. And I think the perception from another filmmaker perhaps was, oh, he's just out for the money. He's out there, he's putting these films together for money. He doesn't care about them. I didn't believe that to be true. And it's interesting, you've said your first film was kind of this life experience thing. It wasn't a movie you'd created to make cash. I guess to me, you seem like the same sort of filmmaker who's actually sort of making this work financially, which isn't easy, making films and making them work financially. So it's that line, because over in the UK, I think filmmakers are encouraged maybe to work on an art, something that's artistic and it's almost frowned upon to do something that's commercial and that's going to actually make money. I don't know if there's a question there, if I'm just expressing.
No. One thing I can say, whoever made that comment really don't know Swift so long. He really cares about these movies. He's like I said, he comes from he's an author from the book world. When I first seen him, he was talked to. I have a liquor brand called Ricardo More Tequila. So he came to me and was like, "Hey, I'm going to Detroit, man. I'm about to shoot my first movie. And you want to put your liquor in?" And something came up where I couldn't go, but I see how passionate he was. He went out there, and it was his first time doing the film. He just jumped in, and a lot of things wasn't right on the set, and he didn't give up. He came back. We had to do his whole sound though. Like they ain't really the full story behind it. He had to redo his whole sound. You know how much it costs to redo your whole sound? and coloring, and he wouldn't give up. He really took a project that somebody gave him, like they threw it at him. He reinvented it to make it circumstances look good. So he really cared. So he's more than the money to him. He's like, he really doesn't need the money, to tell you the truth, because things he does real estate outside of movie. This is his passion. So I don't think he for a money grab. And like you said, like I've been watching UK movies. I swear I want to work with a guy from Top Boy. One of the leagues. I've been trying to find him. So you out there, you watching this, Steve? I'm going to do a film with you. But because I've been watching their movies, and I've been sometimes I see in their movies some Americanized language.
Mm.
So and then I see how their movies look. So I think we're in the same path of just making content to what we feel. Sometimes it might not look like, we ain't got the $30-40 million Hollywood budget. So yeah, we're not gonna have all that you might see in their films, but if you really look at it, you can tell that we're really trying to do our best with what we got.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yes, it does. I didn't really give you a question, but that's a good answer. So let's talk about distribution, because I know you've got on your site, you do distribution consulting, and obviously you've been releasing these movies. So what would be your tips for filmmakers for distribution?
First, like you said, please take the time and make sure your movie's correct with the audio, the light. I mean, everybody got big budgets, whatever budget you work with. Try to make it the best you can. And then, if you're looking for distribution, you got to understand there's a really big thing between aggregators and a real distributor. Sometimes people be wondering why my movie on this on Tubi, because that person, the distribution company you're dealing with, really only got that kind of relationship, or they're going through a film hub or something that just everybody. If you go to somebody like Buffalo Wake, who I deal with, they're real distributors. They deal with BETs, Amazon Prime, Flossums. It's so people gotta understand there's so many different avenues of stream out there that, because we get in our minds, especially independently, like there's only two. Tubi's great and it pays as well, and I love Tubi. So I'm with Tubi all the way, but there are other platforms like Amazon Prime, Flossum, ET, YouTube TV. There's so many different things you can do. So do your research, and each platform has a. If you into horror, you got a horror movie. Tubi's great. Amazon might not be great for you, but you got Flossum out there. You got TMC TV. You got other platforms. So really do your research just before you just put your movie on something, because you got a movie that's not the content that's really watched over here. You're wasting your time. Try to find out where your movie fit. That'd be one of the biggest things that I would tell a person looking for distribution. Like you said, read your contracts, because there's a lot of theft out there. There's a lot of especially with these CPMs, people don't even know what CPMs mean, you know what I mean? So this cost per medium, what it means thousands. So you got the math, so you really got to read the contract, understand the language, then make the right choice before you just jump into anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Contracts and distribution, again, they can be very big. We've had them. I'm fortunate. My wife's my producer, and she'll go through them with a fine tooth comb. And I have made a video on the YouTube channel all about sales and distribution, which talks about some of those things in that contract that people can catch you out on. So check that out. But distribution contracts really important. Like you say, finding the right platform for your project, super important, because that's where your audience is going to be. So once you
now just told me the other day, I was gonna say who was on the platform, but I heard they took all the money from the person and get nothing.
Yeah.
So you have everyone distribute mess with it. And I hear a lot of these stories, that people not getting what they think they get, or see their movie in top categories, and they think that you up here for a whole month, you really realize you think you're getting this, and then you end up getting this.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful who you deal with, because there's a lot of thieves out there.
There are, yeah.
A lot of thieves.
Yeah, definitely. So
talking.
Yeah. So looking at so your film's out. What about tips for promoting your film and reaching your audience?
But I think that's the biggest thing anybody in this film world independently, because you're the majors, they have their own marketing team. So independently, as you shoot your movie, it is in the post production. All right, promote. Start thinking about promoting. Think outside the box. Being in a Tubi group or different groups on Facebook thing is good. It's great. But it's bigger platforms now. And one thing I think I'm winning because I used to be a concert promoter. I used to be a record producer. So I come from promoting and I travel. People will see me out and I have little cards with all my movies on it, AR code, all this stuff on it. And to this day, I pass them out personally to people. I hit podcasts. I go outside the normal box. I know I have brought myself a lot of traffic to places like Tubi. I know I have a different audience because I over promote. Just as much as I'm spending on a film, I'm spending at least half of that on promotion. Because promotion is the key. Like, especially nowadays, there's so many movies, especially I'm talking about Tubi, there's so many movies on there. If you don't promote, a person never know about your movie, they'll never be seen. There's only so many slots that when you come to the first page that you're going to see. Until you start getting the algorithm where you pop up there, nobody never know about your movie. So you have to promote, And like I said, like we doing things either like a good friend of mine is Kenny Ivory. Everybody knows Pimpin' Ken. He has the hip hop fraternity, one of the biggest fraternity of hip hops in the world. And every year he goes out to Atlanta. He has the HHF Award for hip hop artists. And this year he invited my company, Carter More Tequila, to present the best indie artist award. I have a lot of artists that I'm celebrating on the indie level who've done things for Tubi and Amazon Prime to inspire a lot of people. And things like this, like basically our own version of BET, Hollywood, their awards. And this giving the artists a chance to shine this and motivate the other people like, hey, if you do things right, you get celebrated. And that's promotion. So like I said, promotion is just a key. And having events like that. Detroit has a big award show every year. And them kind of things. And when you're at that, you got to take advantage of that and promote that with your movie. So promotion is just you can't survive without it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a tough one, promotion, and it's tough finding that audience. But yeah, it's certainly stepping outside of what you would normally do. So you can't just post on Facebook. You've kind of got to do everything. Like you say, the in-person stuff does work. If you go, like I've done a few talks, if you go and do a talk, or if I go to a uni, I can definitely see that people have checked the film out afterwards. So that's good advice.
Just go watch your movie because you shook their hand and say, hey, I do movies.
Mm.
I'm going to watch this. Just because they met you. And I didn't watch that genre, but they might watch because they feel they met the person who did it. And that means that's a big loop there. And you can't just post your movie one time. There's so many good movies out there. And everybody don't understand marketing, understand it. You got directors who created, directed, producers good at producing, but don't understand marketing. And you promote your movie one time, the average person is so, the attention span is so short that you got to keep reminding them. Like and I'm saying this, when your movie first drop, promote, and a year later, keep promoting. Because what's old to others is new to some. So
yeah. That's a great quote. What's old to others is new to some. I think that's good. That'll keep me going when I'm continuing to promote a movie that's a year old, which is hard because you're trying to find content to use to promote it. But you do have to keep. It's a stamina game, and it's funny what you've highlighted there. I guess this ties into what I was talking about with Swift. Is that there's not many professions. Maybe there is. Maybe it's just entertainment in general. But there's not many professions where you need to know how to create the thing creatively, but then also know how the business works in terms of not getting screwed out of all your money, and also know all about marketing and selling the thing. So I think indie filmmaking is kind of all of that in this big ball. And unfortunately, you've got to learn all of it if you want people to see your film and actually make some money off of it. So it's not easy.
Well, that's why I had an advantage over a lot of people because I come from the record world. I had shady record deals. I dealt with big record companies, and I had a #1 hit single around the world with my projects. Yeah, so I've been through it all. Rob took advantage of it, and so before that I'm in the liquor game also with spirits. I have a tequila called Ricardo Moore, and that's just to say I'm dealing with distributors. You got to promote the liquor, you got to sell it. So I know about marketing. and distribution and contract. So that's why I come over here and I share with anybody who's into it. Like, it's more than just picking up that camera and shoot, because to sell that, you got to sell that. That's what I tell them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's for me anyway, picking up the camera and shooting it is the fun bit. The distribution and sales is the headache bit, and the marketing is the hardest part for me personally, just because there's a lot to it. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about. So talking about marketing, all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking at your posters on your website for your films. They don't all look the same, but they kind of got the same sort of flavour to them. Say you were talking to a poster designer now, are there any specific guidelines you give them? You say, right, do you say, right, I want these 3 things to happen on this poster? How do you approach artwork?
Well, I've been dealing with Dan out in LA. He's really an industry a poster maker. Like, he does design for the big boys. You have to have them posters. They're not cheap. They're a couple $1,000. So I know how people can't afford those. So because when I do my movies, I'm always thinking about the big platform. Like, I'm trying to go, with BTs and All Blacks and the Hollywood stars and things. So I do understand, but so I do give the idea of what I'm thinking, but I also like to give the designer creativity. I think it works good that way. Like, I don't want to block them to where I'm like, hey, I want to like this way. No, I want to, this is called Trust Nobody. And then bricks is the main style, but his brothers kind of envy him. So I want that feel, give me that feel. And then they let the artist create. That's what's great thing about artists is in any genre, you're artist, you want to have the space where you can add to what my vision. That works best for me.
Yeah, definitely. Letting someone lean into their skill set is always good. So then I was going to ask, my final question, which I ask a lot of filmmakers, is have you got a motto? Have you got like a mantra or something you apply to your life or to your filmmaking?
My motto is always do better than last time. Never get settled. Never just be like, oh, this. I always want to reach another plateau. Like I said, with this Trust Nobody 4 I just shot. And I think it's going to be one of my most action films because I said I want to be able to. I got a chance to work with Kitty Jones, who's a great stunt coordinator. She came. That's why I brought her in to be one of the main leads in this. And she was just so much of a help because she's an actual stunt woman. And she helped bring my vision to life, like to die this way. Let's make it like this. We running through the woods. We jump through explosions. When you see this, you're gonna be like, is he Action Jackson? So that was always my dream. And so my next film, I'm working with a guy named Michael Johnson. He's a CEO of the Boys and Girls Club in Madison. He raised over $250 million. We want to tell his story, kind of like the pursuits of happiness, kind of the real story, like that. And I want to be able to bring the cranes in. I want to, so my goal and my motto is always get better, always do the next thing to surprise them. Don't be like, you see so many movies that just, because the budget here, just keep it in there. We keep the scene like this, not do too much. We got to worry about it. No, I'm always trying to do too much. Let's go for it. If it don't work, it don't work. I'm more happy if it don't work, try. I always wonder about if it would have worked. So that's my motto. Always get better. Always try to out-top the last one.